The stars had always called to humanity. For thousands of years, people looked up at the night sky and dreamed of what waited beyond. When they finally built ships fast enough to reach other worlds, they expected wonder. They expected discovery. They did not expect hatred. Admiral stood on the bridge of the human ship Dawnseeker. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent 40 years in space, and he thought he had seen everything. But the sight before him made his heart sink. 300 alien warships surrounded his small fleet of 12 vessels. They were ships, sleek and silver, shaped like curved blades. They were the most powerful species in the Galactic Assembly. They had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years, and today they had come to judge humanity. "Admiral," said Lieutenant from her station. She was young, barely 30, with sharp eyes and steady hands. "They are opening a channel." Nodded, "Put it through." The main screen flickered to life. A face appeared. The creature was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. His name was High, and he spoke for the entire Galactic Assembly. "Humans," said. His voice was cold and flat. "The Assembly has reached a decision regarding your species." Kept his face calm, but his hands gripped the armrest of his chair. "We came here in peace. We have done nothing wrong." "You exist," replied. "That is wrong enough." Looked at with confusion in her eyes. They had made contact with the Assembly just 5 years ago. In that time, they had followed every rule. They had been polite and respectful. They had shared their culture and asked to learn from others. What had they done to deserve this? Continued speaking. "We have studied your history, humans. We have seen your wars, your violence, your endless hunger for more. You conquered your own world through blood and fire. You split the atom and used it to kill your own kind. You are a species of monsters." "We have changed," said. "We learned from our mistakes. We came to space seeking friendship, not conquest." "Words," said. "Empty words. The Assembly does not believe them. You are too dangerous to exist among civilized species. You are too primitive to understand peace. Therefore, we cast you out." The words hit like a physical blow. Cast out, exiled, rejected by the entire galaxy. "You will return to your home world," continued. "You will destroy all your ships capable of leaving your solar system. You will never contact any Assembly species again. If you try to leave your system, we will destroy you. If you try to contact us, we will destroy you. You have 1 standard year to comply." Stood from his chair. "You cannot do this. We have rights. We have done nothing to threaten anyone." "You breathe," said. "That is threat enough." The channel closed. The screen went dark. For a long moment, no one on the bridge spoke, then broke the silence. "Admiral, what do we do?" Looked at his crew. They were good people. Scientists, explorers, dreamers. They had left Earth hopping to find friends among the stars. Instead, they found only fear and hatred. "We go home," said quietly. "We have no choice." The journey back to Earth took 3 months. During that time, tried to contact other Assembly species. He sent messages to a race of traders who had seemed friendly. He sent messages to the gentle creatures who loved art and music. He sent messages to anyone who might listen. No one replied. When the Dawnseeker entered Earth's solar system, they found ships waiting. The aliens had already destroyed the human space station orbiting Mars. They had destroyed the mining colonies on the moons of Jupiter. They had killed thousands of people without warning. Watched the destruction on her screen with tears running down her face. They did not even give them a chance to evacuate. Felt something cold grow in his chest. It was not fear. It was not sadness. It was something older and darker. It was the same feeling his ancestors had felt when enemies came to their shores. It was the feeling of a people pushed too far. "Record everything," he told. "Record every destroyed station, every dead body, every crime. The galaxy will know what they did to us." Earth received them with shock and grief. The leaders of the world gathered to hear us report. When he finished speaking, silence filled the room. "They have given us 1 year," said President. She was a small woman with iron in her voice. "1 year to destroy everything we have built." "If we do not comply, they will destroy Earth," said. "Then we must comply," said one of the ministers. "We cannot fight 300 species. We cannot fight ships that make ours look like toys. We must accept our fate." Stepped forward. She had asked to be present at this meeting and had allowed it. "No," she said, "we must not accept this." The ministers looked at her with surprise. Who was this young officer to speak against them? "We cannot fight them now," continued. "That is true, but we can wait, we can hide, we can grow stronger in secret. They think we are primitive, they think we are weak. Let them think that. Let them forget about us. And one day, when they least expect it, we will show them what humanity really is." President looked at for a long moment. Then she smiled. It was a small smile, cold and sharp like a knife hidden in silk. "The young officer is right," said. "We will give them what they want. We will destroy our ships. We will stay quiet. We will be good little primitives, but we will not stop. We will build in secret. We will grow in darkness. And we will remember every name, every ship, every crime. One day the galaxy will learn that humanity is not so easy to kill." Felt hope stir in his chest for the first time in months. It was a small flame, but it was enough. "How long?" he asked. "How long do we wait?" Looked out the window at the blue sky above. Somewhere beyond that sky, alien ships watched and waited, believing they had won. "As long as it takes," she said. 100 years, 1,000 years, however long we need. Humanity has survived ice ages. We have survived plagues. We have survived ourselves. We will survive this too, and when we return to the stars, the galaxy will tremble." The room erupted in voices, some agreeing, some arguing, but did not hear them. He was looking at, and she was looking back at him. In her eyes, he saw the same cold fire that burned in his own heart. They had been cast out. They had been humiliated. They had been told they were nothing. But they would rise, they would build, and one day they would return. The galaxy had made a terrible mistake. 300 years passed in silence. The galaxy forgot about Earth. They checked on the small blue planet a few times in the 1st century, their ships scanning from a safe distance. They saw no space stations, no warships, no signs of technology that could threaten them. The humans had obeyed. They had stayed on their little world like good primitives. After a while, they stopped checking. Earth became a footnote in galactic history, a warning tale about what happened to aggressive species who reached too far. But they never looked below the surface. General walked through the tunnels beneath the Korean mountains. He was 70 years old, but his body was strong and his mind was sharp. Medical technology had improved greatly in the past 3 centuries. Humans now lived 200 years or more, and they stayed healthy until the very end. The tunnels stretched for thousands of kilometers. They connected underground cities that held millions of people. Above ground, Earth looked peaceful and quiet. Below ground, it was a hive of activity. "General," said a young soldier, saluting as passed, "the council is waiting for you." Nodded and continued walking. He passed through massive doors made of metal stronger than anything the galaxy had ever seen. He walked past factories where workers built weapons that would make technology look like children's toys. He walked past training grounds where soldiers practiced combat techniques perfected over 3 centuries of preparation. The council chamber was deep beneath the earth, protected by layers of rock and metal and energy shields. 12 people sat around a circular table. They represented all of humanity, all the nations that had once fought each other but now worked together as one. "General," said Chairman. He was an old man with white hair and kind eyes, but his voice carried authority. "Thank you for joining us. Please give us your report." Stood at attention. "The military is ready, Chairman. We have 10,000 warships hidden in underground hangars across 6 continents. Each ship is equipped with weapons and shields far beyond anything the Assembly possesses. Our soldiers number in the millions, all trained and prepared. A woman at the table smiled. She was Admiral Commander of the Hidden Fleet. 10,000 ships, she said. They had 300 when they exiled us. They thought that was enough to scare us forever. Our ships are also faster, continued. Our engines can cross the galaxy in days, not months. When we will move like lightning. Chairman nodded slowly. And the other projects, what news from the science division? A door opened, and a woman entered the chamber. She was small and thin, with messy hair and bright eyes that seemed to see things others could not. Her name was, and she was the greatest scientist humanity had ever produced. "Forgive my lateness," said, taking her seat. "I was finishing the final tests on Project Sunrise." The room went quiet. Project Sunrise had been humanity's greatest secret for the past 50 years. Even most council members did not know the details. And Chairman asked. Smiled. It was the smile of someone who had just solved an impossible puzzle. "It works. The device is ready. When activated, it will disable every ship in range. Their weapons, their shields, their engines, everything will simply stop working." Admiral leaned forward. "How is that possible? Their technology is completely different from ours." "That is what they think," said. "But all technology follows the same basic laws of physics. It took us 200 years to understand those laws completely. They never bothered to look that deep. They were too proud, too certain of their superiority. That pride will be their downfall." General felt a familiar warmth in his chest. Pride. Not the empty pride but the quiet pride of a people who had been beaten down and refused to stay down. "There is one more thing," said. Her voice grew serious. "I have developed something else, something I hope we never have to use." She pressed a button, and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed a weapon, a massive cannon mounted on a ship. "I call it the Sun Breaker," said. "One shot can destroy an entire planet, crack it in half like an egg, kill every living thing in seconds." The room fell silent. Even, who had seen many terrible things in his long life, felt a chill run down his spine. "Why would you build such a thing?" asked one of the council members, horror in his voice. Looked at him with sad eyes. "Because our enemies might build something similar, because we must be ready for anything. I hope we never fire it. I pray we never need it. But if someone tries to destroy Earth, they must know that we can destroy them too." Chairman stood and walked to the window. There was no real window underground, of course, but screens showed images of the surface. Fields of green grass, blue oceans, children playing in parks, unaware of the weapons hidden beneath their feet. 300 years, he said quietly. For 300 years we have prepared. We have built weapons that could end civilizations. We have trained soldiers who could conquer worlds. But that is not why we did this. He turned to face the council. "We did this so our children could walk among the stars without fear. We did this so no one would ever cast us out again. We did this not for revenge, but for freedom." General nodded. He had heard this speech many times in many forms. Every generation passed down the same message. They were not building an army for conquest. They were building it for protection. "The question remains," Admiral said. "When do we reveal ourselves? We are ready now. We have been ready for decades, but we stay hidden. Why?" "Because there is no reason to show ourselves yet," Chairman said. "The galaxy is at peace. The Assembly rules with a firm hand. If we appear now, we will be seen as aggressors. We will become the monsters they always claimed we were." "Then what are we waiting for?" asked. Answered before the chairman could speak. "We are waiting for them to need us. One day, something will threaten the galaxy, something the Assembly cannot defeat alone. When that day comes, we will offer our help. We will save them, and they will have to accept us as equals." Understood. It was a long game, a patient game. Humanity had learned patience in the centuries of exile. They had learned to wait and watch and prepare. "What if that day never comes?" a young council member asked. What if the assembly remained strong forever? Chairman smiled. Nothing lasts forever. The universe is full of dangers that even the mighty assembly cannot imagine. Something will come. It always does. And when it does, humanity will be ready. The meeting ended, and the council members returned to their duties. Walked back through the tunnels, past the factories and training grounds, past the millions of people who lived and worked in secret. On the surface, Earth looked peaceful. Farmers grew crops. Artists created beauty. Children laughed and played. To any observer, it seemed like a simple, primitive world. But beneath the surface, an empire waited. An empire built on patience and pain. An empire that remembered every insult, every death, every moment of humiliation. The galaxy had forgotten about humanity. That was exactly what humanity wanted. One day they would remember. One day they would look at the small blue planet and realize their terrible mistake. But that day had not come yet, so humanity waited, they watched, they prepared. And in the darkness beneath the Earth, 10,000 ships stood ready to fly. The scout ship was small, designed for speed and stealth. It carried only one pilot, a young officer named. He was on a routine patrol near the outer edges of assembly space when his engines failed. Tried everything he knew to fix the problem, but nothing worked. His ship drifted through space, pulled by the gravity of a nearby star. He watched helplessly as his vessel fell toward a small blue planet. Earth. Knew about Earth, of course. Every child learned the story of the primitive humans who had been cast out centuries ago. They were a warning, a lesson about what happened to violent species who tried to join civilized society. As his ship burned through the atmosphere, sent one final distress signal. He knew no one would come to rescue him from this forbidden world, but protocol was protocol. Then he braced himself for impact. The crash destroyed most of his ship, survived only because his emergency shield activated at the last moment. He crawled from the wreckage into a field of green grass, his body broken and bleeding. He expected to die. He expected the primitive humans to find him and tear him apart. Instead, he saw a woman running toward him across the field. She was small, with dark hair and worried eyes. She knelt beside him and spoke words he could not understand. Her voice was gentle, not angry. Her hands were soft as she examined his wounds. "Help," whispered in the common galactic language. "Please." The woman looked surprised that he could speak. Then she nodded and pulled out a small device from her pocket. She pressed a button and spoke quickly in her own language. Faded in and out of consciousness. He remembered being lifted onto a stretcher. He remembered bright lights and strange machines. He remembered faces looking down at him, human faces full of curiosity rather than hatred. When he woke up, he was in a hospital bed. His wounds had been healed. His body felt better than it had in years. A man sat in a chair beside his bed. He was older, with gray hair and a calm expression. He wore a uniform that did not recognize. "Good morning," the man said in perfect galactic common. "I am Commander, welcome to Earth." Sat up slowly, looking around the room. It was clean and modern, filled with technology that looked advanced, very advanced. This was not what he had expected. "Where am I?" he asked. "You are in one of our medical facilities," said. "You crashed in a restricted area. We brought you here for treatment." "This technology," said, looking at the machines around him. "It is not primitive. The assembly said humans were primitive." Smiled. It was a polite smile, but there was something cold behind it. "The assembly says many things. Not all of them are true." Felt fear grow in his chest. The assembly had made a terrible mistake. These humans were not primitive at all. If they had technology like this, what else did they have? "I must contact my people," said. "I must tell them I am alive." "I am afraid that is not possible," said. "You see, your arrival has created a problem for us. We have spent 300 years hiding from the galaxy. We are not ready to be discovered yet. You cannot keep me here, said. The assembly will notice I am missing. They will search for me. Your ship sent one distress signal before it crashed, said. We intercepted it and altered the data. As far as the assembly knows, your ship crashed on an uninhabited moon 2 systems away. They will search there and find nothing. Eventually, they will give up. You will be listed as lost in space. Felt his world crumbling. He was trapped on a forbidden planet, surrounded by a species that the galaxy feared. He would never see his home again. What will you do with me? He asked. Was quiet for a moment. Then he stood and walked to the window. Outside could see a city. Not a primitive village, but a modern city with tall buildings and flying vehicles. That is not for me to decide, said. The council will discuss your fate. Until then, you will be our guest. You will not be harmed. You have my word. Why? Asked. Why would you treat me well? My people cast you out. We destroyed your stations. We killed your people. Turned to face him. His eyes were hard, but his voice was soft. Because we are not like you. We do not punish children for the sins of their parents. You did not cast us out. You were not even born when it happened. Why should you suffer for what your ancestors did? Did not know what to say. This was not how enemies were supposed to act. Over the following weeks, was allowed to explore the human city. Guards followed him everywhere, but they were polite and answered his questions. He saw things that amazed him. Hospitals that could heal any wound. Factories that built machines more advanced than anything on worlds. Schools where children learned science that the assembly had not yet discovered. Most of all, he saw people, ordinary humans living ordinary lives. They worked and played and loved and laughed. They were not monsters. They were not violent primitives. They were just people. One day took him to see the fleet. They traveled deep underground, through tunnels that stretched for kilometers. Finally, they emerged into a massive cavern, stopped breathing when he saw what waited there. Ships, thousands of ships, warships bigger than anything the assembly had ever built. They filled the cavern like sleeping giants, waiting to wake. 10,000 ships, said quietly, each one more powerful than a destroyer. We have 6 caverns like this around the world. Felt his legs grow weak. Why are you showing me this? Because the council has made a decision about you, said. You have 2 choices. The first is to stay here for the rest of your life. You will be treated well, but you will never leave. You will never contact your people. You will live and die on Earth. And the second choice. Looked at him with those hard, soft eyes. You swear loyalty to humanity. You join us. You help us understand the galaxy and prepare for the day when we reveal ourselves. In return, you will have freedom. You will have a home. You will be one of us. You would trust me? Asked. After everything my people did. Trust is earned, said, but everyone deserves a chance to earn it. You have seen who we really are. You have seen that we are not monsters. The question is, what will you do with that knowledge? Looked at the ships, at the technology, at the strength that humanity had built in secret. The assembly had been wrong about them, so terribly wrong. If I refuse both choices, said, what then? Then you live here as our guest forever, said. We will not kill you. That is not who we are. Thought about his home. He thought about his family. He would never see them again, no matter what he chose. But here, among these strange humans, he might find a new family, a new purpose. I swear loyalty, he said. I will help you. I will teach you everything I know about the assembly. And when the day comes for you to return to the stars, I will stand with you. Nodded. For the first time, his smile was warm. Welcome to Earth. Welcome to humanity. As they walked back through the tunnels, realized something that changed everything he believed. The humans were not the monsters the assembly feared. They were something far more dangerous. They were survivors. And survivors always found a way to win. The Devourer swarm came from the void between galaxies. No one knew where they came from or what they wanted. They simply appeared one day at the edge of assembly space and began to consume everything in their path. They were not a single species but millions of creatures acting as one mind. They ate planets, stars, everything. Where they passed, nothing remained but darkness and dust. High Loris stood in the assembly chamber on the. He was young for only 200 years old. His 4 eyes were tired from sleepless nights, and his voice was hoarse from giving orders that never seemed to help. "Report," he said to the military commander before him. The commander, an old named, looked broken. His silver uniform was wrinkled, and his hands shook as he held his. "We have lost 40 more systems in the past week," said. "The fell yesterday. They are evacuating their colonies. The swarm moves faster than we can retreat." "And our defenses?" Loris asked. Was silent for a long moment. "Our weapons do nothing. We destroy one creature and 1,000 more take its place. We lose 10 ships for every one of theirs we damage. At this rate, we will be extinct within a year." The chamber erupted in panic. Council members from dozens of species shouted and argued. Some called for surrender. Others called for final attacks. None of them had any real hope. Loris raised his hand for silence. It took several minutes for the noise to die down. "There must be something we have not tried," he said. "Some weapon we have not used, some ally we have not called." "We have called," everyone said. "Every species in the assembly is fighting. Everyone is losing." An old stood slowly. Her name was, and she was one of the oldest beings in the chamber. Her gray fur was thin and her voice was weak, but her eyes were still sharp. "There is one species we have not called," she said. The chamber went quiet. Everyone knew who she meant. "The humans are dead," said. "They died on their primitive world centuries ago. There is no one left to call." "Did we ever check?" asked. "Did we ever make sure they were truly gone?" Loris thought about it. They had stopped monitoring Earth 200 years ago. They had assumed the humans would die out on their own, trapped on their little planet. But assumptions were dangerous things. "It does not matter," another said. "Even if the humans survived, they were primitives. They had no technology. They could not fight the swarm." "They survived on a death world," said. "They survived ice ages and plagues and wars. If any species could find a way to live through anything, it would be them." Loris made his decision. Send a message to Earth, a plea for help. If they are still there, if they have anything to offer, we must try. "This is madness," said. "We cast them out, we destroyed their stations, they hate us." "Then we will beg," Loris said. "We will apologize, we will offer them whatever they want. Pride means nothing when extinction is the alternative." The message was sent that night. It traveled across the stars, aimed at a small blue planet that the galaxy had forgotten. It said, "We were wrong. We need your help, please." No one expected an answer. On Earth, in a command center deep underground, Admiral received the message. She was a small woman with steel in her eyes and fire in her heart. Her family had served in the Hidden Fleet for 5 generations, ever since the days of exile. She read the message 3 times, then she called a council meeting. "The moment has come," she said to the gathered leaders. "The galaxy faces a threat it cannot defeat. They are begging for help." The chairman sat at the head of the table. She was the great-great-granddaughter of President, who had started humanity's secret rise 3 centuries ago. She had spent her whole life preparing for this day. "What do we know about this swarm?" she asked. "Has been monitoring assembly communications for years," Admiral said. "The swarm is unlike anything the galaxy has seen. They consume everything. Planets, stars, entire systems. Nothing the assembly can stop them." "Can we stop them?" asked. Scientist the third spoke up. She was the granddaughter of the original who had created humanity's greatest weapons. She had inherited her grandmother's genius. "I believe so," she said. "The swarm operates through a hive mind. Kill the central intelligence and the whole swarm dies. Our weapons are designed for precision strikes. We can find the center and destroy it." "How do you know this will work?" another council member asked. "I do not know for certain," said, "but we have studied every piece of data brought us. We have run thousands of simulations. Our chances are good." Admiral leaned forward. "The question is not whether we can help. The question is whether we should. These are the people who cast us out. They killed our ancestors. They called us monsters. Why should we save them?" Stood in the corner of the room. He had aged well over the decades, but his eyes still held the shame of what his people had done. "I cannot ask you to forgive us," he said. "What we did was unforgivable, but there are innocent people dying. Children, families, people who had nothing to do with what happened 300 years ago. Do they deserve to die for the sins of the past?" The room was silent. Every human there felt the old anger, the old pain. Generations of waiting and preparing had not erased the memory of exile. Chairman stood. She walked to a screen that showed the stars beyond Earth. Somewhere out there, billions of people were dying. "My ancestor made a promise," she said. "She said that one day humanity would return to the stars. She said the galaxy would tremble when they saw what we had become. But she also said something else. She said we would not become the monsters they believed us to be." She turned to face the council. "If we let the galaxy burn, we prove them right. We prove that humans are selfish and cruel and unworthy of the stars. But if we save them, if we offer mercy instead of revenge, we prove them wrong. We prove that humanity is better than they ever imagined." Admiral nodded slowly. "And if we save them, they will owe us. They will have to accept us. They will have to give us our place among the stars." "Is that why we should do this?" asked. "For power, for revenge?" "No," said. "We should do it because it is right. I just wanted to point out that doing the right thing will also give us everything we ever wanted." A vote was called. One by one, the council members gave their answer. When it was finished, the decision was unanimous. Humanity would answer the call. Admiral sent the reply herself. It was short and simple. "We remember what you did. We remember every death, every insult, every lie. But we are not like you. We do not let innocent people die for the crimes of others. We are coming. Prepare your people. And when this is over, the galaxy will see humanity as we truly are." Loris read the message with tears in his 4 eyes. They were coming. The humans were coming. He did not know whether to feel hope or fear. The sky above the burned, with the light of 1,000 suns. The swarm had arrived. Millions of creatures blocked out the stars, their bodies twisted and hungry. They moved like a living storm, ready to devour everything below. The defense fleet fought bravely, but they were losing. Ship after ship exploded in silent fire. Soon there would be nothing left. Loris stood on the surface, watching the end approach. Millions of his people huddled in shelters, waiting to die. Children cried for parents who could not comfort them. Old ones whispered prayers to gods who did not answer. "How long?" Loris asked his aide. 2 hours, the aide said, "maybe less." Loris closed all 4 of his eyes. This was how his species would end. This was the price for 10,000 years of pride. Then a sound filled the air. It was deep and powerful, like thunder rolling across the sky. Loris opened his eyes and looked up. Light appeared in the darkness. Not the light of explosions, but something else. Something bright and pure and strong. Ships. 10,000 human ships emerged from nothing, their engines blazing like small stars. They were massive, each one bigger than a city. They arranged themselves between the planet and the swarm like a wall of metal and fire. Admiral's voice crackled across every communication channel in the system. "This is the human fleet. We have arrived. All assembly ships fall back to the planet. We will handle this." The commanders did not argue. They had no pride left. They retreated behind the human line and watched in wonder. The swarm attacked. Millions of creatures threw themselves at the human fleet. expecting to overwhelm them like they had overwhelmed everyone else. They were wrong. Human weapons fired in perfect coordination. Beams of energy cut through the swarm like light through darkness. Each shot killed hundreds of creatures. The ships moved with precision that seemed impossible, dodging attacks and striking back without pause. On her flagship, Admiral watched the battle with cold focus. "Status report," she said. "Shields holding at 92%, her weapons officer reported. "Enemy losses estimated at 2 million and rising. Our casualties are 0. 0. The word spread through the assembly forces watching the battle. The humans had lost nothing. After hours of fighting, not a single human ship had been destroyed. Stood beside on the bridge. His eyes were wet with tears he could not explain. "You are magnificent," he whispered. "We are human," said simply. The battle continued for 6 hours. The swarm threw everything it had at the human fleet, but nothing worked. Human shields deflected every attack. Human weapons destroyed every wave. Slowly, steadily, the swarm began to retreat. "Now," said, "find the center, the hive mind." Scientist the third worked at her console, scanning the swarm for the intelligence that controlled it. After long minutes, she found it. "There," she said, pointing to her screen, "hidden behind the main mass, a creature the size of a small moon, that is the brain." Nodded, "Prepare Project Sunrise, and ready the sun breaker." The fleet moved forward, pushing through the swarm toward its heart. Creatures died by the millions, but still they fought. The hive mind screamed in rage, sending every remaining creature to stop the humans. It was not enough. The human fleet reached the center of the swarm. The hive mind floated before them, a massive creature of teeth and eyes and hunger. It was ancient and terrible, older than most stars. "This is your one chance," said, broadcasting on all frequencies. "Leave this galaxy, return to the void, never come back." The hive mind laughed. It was a horrible sound that made even hardened soldiers shiver. "You are strong," it said, "but we are eternal. We have consumed 1,000 galaxies. We will consume this one too." "Then you leave us no choice," said. She pressed a button. Project Sunrise activated. Every swarm creature in range suddenly stopped moving. Their connection to the hive mind was cut. They floated in space, confused and helpless. The hive mind screamed again, this time in fear. "What have you done?" "We broke you," said. "For 300 years we prepared, we built, we learned. We became something you cannot defeat. Now you will see what humanity does to threats." The Sunbreaker fired. A beam of pure energy, brighter than any star, struck the hive mind. For one perfect moment the creature burned with the light of a newborn sun. Then it was gone. Nothing remained but dust and echoes. Without the hive mind, the swarm died. Billions of creatures simply stopped. Their bodies floated in space, empty and harmless. The storm was over. On the surface of the silence fell. Then cheering. Millions of voices raised in joy and relief. They were alive. Against all odds they had survived. Loris made his way to the landing zone where human shuttles were descending. He stood with his fellow, all of them humbled and shaking. Admiral stepped off her shuttle with her officers behind her. She was small among the tall, but she seemed larger than all of them. "Loris," she said. Loris bowed. It was a gesture his people had not made to anyone in thousands of years. "Admiral, on behalf of the Galactic Assembly, I thank you. You saved us. You saved all of us." Looked at him for a long moment. Then she spoke the words that would change the galaxy forever. 300 years ago, your ancestors came to mine and said we were too dangerous to exist among civilized species. They said we were primitive. They said we were monsters. They cast us out and left us to die." Loris felt shame burn in his heart. "We were wrong. We were so terribly wrong." "Yes," said, "you were. But we did not come here for revenge. We did not save you so we could gloat. We saved you because it was the right thing to do, because innocent people should not die for the mistakes of the past." She reached out her hand. Loris looked at it, understanding the gesture from his studies of human culture. It was an offer of peace, an offer of friendship. "The exile is over," said. "Humanity will take its place among the stars. We will be your equals, not your servants, not your enemies. We will work beside you and trade with you and explore with you. That is our only demand." Loris took her hand. "It is more than fair. It is more than we deserve." Chairman's voice came through the communication system, broadcast to every world in the galaxy. "People of the Assembly, hear me. We are humanity. For 300 years you forgot about us. You believed we were gone, but we were here, waiting, preparing, growing stronger. Today we saved your lives. Tomorrow we will work to build a better galaxy. A galaxy where no species is cast out because of fear. A galaxy where all people can reach for the stars without shame." Across 1,000 worlds, people listened. Some were afraid, some were grateful, some were both. But all of them understood one thing: the galaxy would never be the same. In the years that followed, humanity spread across the stars. They built stations and colonies and cities of light. They shared their technology and learned from others. Slowly, the old hatreds faded. New friendships grew. Admiral retired to Earth, to a small house by the sea. Sometimes came to visit, and they would sit together watching the sunset. "Do you ever regret it?" asked one evening. "Saving us, after everything we did?" Smiled, "Never. Revenge would have been easy. It would have felt good for a moment. But this, building something new, making something better, that lasts forever." She looked up at the stars appearing in the darkening sky. Somewhere out there, human children and children played together on worlds their ancestors could never have imagined. "That is what it means to be human," she said. "We do not just survive. We do not just win. We build. We grow. We reach for the stars and bring everyone with us." Nodded. He had spent decades among humans and he still did not fully understand them. But he understood one thing. The galaxy had cast them out, and they had risen to save it anyway. That was humanity. That was their gift. That was why in the end they had won not just a battle but the future itself. The stars shone down on Earth, on the small blue planet that had once been a prison. Now it was the heart of a new age. And it was only the beginning.